The 2025 NBA playoffs have been nothing short of spectacular. After facing criticism last year for lopsided games and blowouts, this year has brought us drama, intensity, and unforgettable moments. And the craziest part? We're not even at the conference finals yet. From game winners to epic collapses, these playoffs are shaping up to be one of the best in recent memory. Let's start in the Western Conference with one of the most exciting first-round matchups, the fourth-seeded Denver Nuggets versus the fifth-seeded LA Clippers. This series was a battle from start to finish, with momentum swinging back and forth. The Clippers took a 2-1 lead and had a golden opportunity to go up 3-1 at home. But after leading at halftime, they fell apart in the third quarter, only to storm back in the fourth. In a dramatic finish, Nikola Jokic missed a game-tying three at the buzzer, but Aaron Gordon saved the day with a tip slam as time expired, one of the closest game winners in NBA history. The Nuggets tied the series 2-2 and never looked back, winning Game 5 in Denver. The Clippers fought hard in Game 6 to force a Game 7, but in the end, they couldn't deliver. James Harden scored just 7 points, Kawhi Leonard couldn't carry the load, and Russell Westbrook added fuel to the fire with a technical after dunking on his former team. The Nuggets blew them out in Game 7 to advance. Meanwhile, the second-seeded Houston Rockets faced the seventh-seeded Golden State Warriors in another thrilling series. Golden State stole Game 1, but Houston bounced back in Game 2. The Warriors lost Jimmy Butler to injury in Game 3, but Steph Curry stepped up with 36 points to win it. The Warriors took a 3-1 series lead, but the Rockets refused to fold. They clawed back, winning Games 5 and 6 to force a decisive Game 7. But in that final game, Houston fell flat. They managed only 89 points, with Jalen Green struggling mightily. Buddy Hield stole the spotlight for Golden State, hitting 9 threes and dropping 33 points to send the Warriors to round 2. The Oklahoma City Thunder made quick work of the Memphis Grizzlies in a sweep, but it wasn't without drama. After blowing out Memphis in the first 2 games, the Grizzlies had a big lead in Game 3 until Ja Morant went down with an injury mid-game. The Thunder stormed back, outscoring Memphis 63-31 in the second half, eventually winning by 6. They closed out the sweep in Game 4, despite a 30-point effort from Scottie Pippen Jr., with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander proving why he's the NBA's best guard with a 38-point performance. Lastly, the Minnesota Timberwolves stunned the LA Lakers, winning their series in just 5 games. Many expected this to go 6 or 7, but Minnesota's size and physicality were too much for LeBron James and company. The Lakers tied the series 1-1, but Minnesota dominated from there. With LeBron nearing the end of his legendary career, the Lakers will face big questions this offseason. Can they find the defensive pieces to make one last run? From buzzer beaters to blowouts, the Western Conference first round gave us everything: drama, heartbreak, and breakout performances. And with the next rounds looming, the stakes are only getting higher. While the Western Conference gave us fireworks, the Eastern Conference was just as thrilling, filled with nail-biting finishes, controversial calls, and defining moments for franchises. Let's dive into the East and unpack how the first round unfolded. Arguably the best series in the East was the matchup between the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. The Knicks, known for their gritty play, simply don't know how to win easy in the playoffs. Game 1 saw them trailing most of the night before a massive 21-0 run in the second half helped them steal a 9-point victory. But Detroit wasn't going down quietly. Game 2 was a defensive slugfest at Madison Square Garden, where the Pistons outlasted the Knicks to tie the series. Game 3 shifted back to Detroit and was another nail-biter, with New York escaping by just 2 points. Then came the wild Game 4. The Knicks won 94-93 after a controversial fall on Tim Hardaway Jr. in the corner, a call that sparked debates since the refs had swallowed their whistles all game. Cade Cunningham missed a potential game winner at the buzzer, leaving Detroit trailing 3-1 in the series. But Detroit had fight left. In Game 5, back in New York, the Pistons battled through injuries and chaos. The Knicks lost both Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart late in the game, with only 1 timeout remaining, leaving them shorthanded for critical minutes. Detroit capitalized, winning 106-103 and sending the series back to Detroit for Game 6. Facing elimination, the Knicks responded like champions. They went on the road and took Game 6 in a tough, hostile environment, setting up a do-or-die Game 7 back at Madison Square Garden. And what a Game 7 it was! The Pistons dominated early, leading most of the game until the Knicks exploded with a 37-24 third quarter. The Pistons punched back in the fourth, outscoring New York by 8. But when it mattered most, Jalen Brunson delivered. Guarded tightly by Asar Thompson, Brunson created separation with a filthy crossover and buried a clutch three to give the Knicks a 3-point lead. Pistons guard Malik Beasley, who had been talking trash online all series, committed a costly turnover on the next possession. That mistake sealed it. The Knicks pulled off the win, going an incredible 3-0 on the road in the series and punched their ticket to the second round. Meanwhile, the Boston Celtics faced off against the Orlando Magic in a surprisingly tough 5-game series. Boston, favored heavily, struggled to impose their will. Injuries piled up. Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday entered the series banged up, and Jason Tatum even missed Game 2. The Magic, led by Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, made life miserable for Boston. Despite being outmanned, Orlando fought hard in every game, proving they're an up-and-coming force in the East. Boston took the series 4-1, but it was anything but easy. Peyton Pritchard struggled offensively, the Celtics' shot selection was inconsistent, and Orlando's defense made them work for every bucket. Looking ahead, it's clear the Magic just need an offensive creator, someone who can break down defenses and take pressure off their young stars. Whether it's Anthony Simons, Kobe White, or a surprise Kevin Durant chase, Orlando's offseason will be key. Elsewhere, the Cleveland Cavaliers dominated the Miami Heat in what became a historic sweep. The Heat, who clawed their way through the play-in tournament, ran out of gas. Cleveland's dominance culminated in a record-setting Game 4 blowout, winning 138-83, the largest margin of victory ever in a playoff sweep. Miami sacrificed their 2025 first-round pick to make the postseason, but they couldn't muster a single win outside of a competitive Game 2. And then we had the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Indiana Pacers, a series that started with promise but ended in heartbreak for Milwaukee. The Pacers jumped out to a shocking 2-0 series lead before Milwaukee clawed back with a win in Game 3. But Game 4 brought disaster. Damian Lillard tore his Achilles tendon, ending his playoffs and possibly sidelining him for the entire 2026 season. The Bucks lost by 26 that night, but the bigger blow was losing their superstar guard. Without Lillard, Milwaukee fought valiantly in Game 5, building a late lead. But in an epic collapse, they surrendered a game-winning three from Tyrese Halliburton in overtime to lose 119-118. Gary Trent Jr. dropped 33 points, but it wasn't enough. That heartbreaking loss may have marked the end of an era in Milwaukee, with key veterans like Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, and possibly Giannis Antetokounmpo facing uncertain futures. The Eastern Conference first round wasn't just about wins and losses. It was about survival, legacy, and setting the stage for what's next. Every team left has something to prove, and the next round promises even more chaos. As the first round dust settled, the second round of the 2025 NBA playoffs wasted no time ramping up the drama. We're talking stunning upsets, clutch performances, and shocking collapses that could change the trajectories of entire franchises. Let's start in the Eastern Conference with the Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the Indiana Pacers. On paper, Cleveland looked like the heavy favorite, fresh off a dominant first round. But Indiana had no intention of playing by the script. Game 1 saw the Pacers steal home court advantage with a 121-112 win. Darius Garland missed the game due to a toe injury, forcing Donovan Mitchell to carry the load with 33 points. But it wasn't enough, as Andrew Nembhard stepped up for Indiana with 23 points, showing he's a rising star under playoff pressure. Game 2 was even crazier. Cleveland held a 117-110 lead with just over a minute left after a max stress three. It seemed like they had secured the win, but Indiana mounted a furious comeback. Tyrese Halliburton scored a quick layup. Mitchell knocked down 2 free throws to push the lead to 7, but then chaos unfolded. Pascal Siakam missed 2 free throws, yet Aaron Nesmith threw down a powerful dunk to cut it to 5. Donovan Mitchell committed a turnover. Siakam made a layup. Then, in a disaster sequence, Max Struss threw a bad pass, leading to a foul on Haliburton. Haliburton knocked down the first free throw, intentionally missed the second, grabbed his own rebound, and with the clock ticking down, nailed a cold-blooded 24-foot step-back 3 to steal the win, 120-119. It was a shocking collapse for Cleveland, one of the most brutal playoff meltdowns in recent memory. Now the Pacers return home up 2-0, with the Cavaliers reeling. Meanwhile, in the West, the Golden State Warriors faced the Minnesota Timberwolves in a series that felt like a toss-up. Minnesota had dominated the Lakers, but Golden State stunned them in Game 1 on the road, winning 99-88 behind Buddy Hield's 24 points. But the Warriors suffered a huge blow. Steph Curry strained his hamstring and was ruled out for at least a week, threatening his availability until possibly Game 5 or later. Jimmy Butler, acquired mid-season by the Warriors, would now need to shoulder the offensive load. Game 1 showcased Golden State's defensive grit, but the pressure was on for the rest of the series. Minnesota's outside shooting had been abysmal, just 5 for 29 from deep, but they were unlikely to stay cold. Jonathan Kuminga, a potential breakout star, was quiet in Game 1, raising questions about whether he could step up as a secondary scorer behind Butler. With Curry sidelined, the Warriors' depth and resilience would be tested more than ever. Then came the showdown between the top-seeded Oklahoma City Thunder and the defending champion Denver Nuggets. Most expected Oklahoma City to keep rolling after their dominant first-round sweep. But Denver had other plans. Game 1 was a statement. Nikola Jokic dropped a monstrous 42 points, 22 rebounds, and 6 assists, leading Denver to a gritty 121-119 road win. Aaron Gordon hit a clutch 3 down the stretch, while Russell Westbrook, facing his former team, played inspired basketball on both ends. OKC star Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 33, but Chet Holmgren struggled with a 5 for 20 shooting night and missed crucial free throws, finishing a -14 in the box score. Denver's Game 1 steal put pressure on the Thunder, and in Game 2, they responded emphatically. The Thunder exploded out of the gates, taking a 24-point lead after the first quarter and tallying 87 points by halftime, an almost unheard-of total for a playoff game. They cruised to a 149-106 blowout win, led by Shai's efficient 34 points on 11 of 13 shooting. He finished a staggering +51 in the plus-minus column. It was a necessary bounce back to avoid going down 0-2 at home. And then there's the marquee series between the Boston Celtics and New York Knicks. Knicks fans were bracing for a quick exit, but Game 1 had other plans. Boston jumped out to a 20-point lead in the first half, only for the Knicks to claw back, outscoring Boston by 7 in the third and 9 in the fourth. Jalen Brunson went off for 12 points in the fourth, but missed the game winner at the buzzer, sending the game to overtime. That's when the Knicks wings, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, and Mikal Bridges, stepped up. Despite shooting just 17 of 31 from the free throw line, New York survived Boston's Hack-a-Mitchell-Robinson strategy and escaped with a 91-90 victory. Boston, meanwhile, shot a dismal 15 of 60 from 3, the most missed threes in playoff history. If Game 1 was shocking, Game 2 doubled down. Once again, Boston built a 20-point first-half lead. And once again, the Knicks stormed back, outscoring Boston 30-7 in the fourth quarter to steal another win, 91-90. The Celtics opened the series a combined 25 for 100 from 3, a brutal 25% clip for a team that thrived on outside shooting all season. Mikal Bridges was the hero again, scoring 14 fourth-quarter points and coming up with a game-clinching steal. The Knicks head back to Madison Square Garden up 2-0, stunning the league. But Boston is far from done. Despite their poor shooting, they're too talented to stay cold forever. The second round has been a wild ride already, and it feels like we're only getting started. As we look ahead to the conference finals and beyond, the 2025 NBA playoffs are shaping up to leave a lasting mark on the league. Every team left standing faces critical questions, not just for this postseason, but for the future of their franchises. Let's start with the Denver Nuggets and Oklahoma City Thunder. After splitting the first two games on the Thunder's home floor, this series is wide open. Denver proved they could steal one on the road behind Jokic's dominance, but Oklahoma City answered emphatically with their Game 2 blowout. The Nuggets have to feel relieved they didn't leave down 0-2, but they'll need more from their role players moving forward. Michael Porter Jr.'s health remains a question, and Westbrook's contributions will be vital against his former team. For OKC, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander continues to prove he's an MVP-level superstar, but Chet Holmgren must bounce back after struggling under playoff pressure. Game 3 in Denver will be a pivotal swing game. Whoever takes it could control the series' momentum. In the Warriors-Timberwolves series, Golden State's hopes hinge on Steph Curry's recovery. Without him, Jimmy Butler carries the offensive burden, but even he can only do so much. Jonathan Kuminga's underwhelming performance raises concerns about his readiness to step up. If Curry can't return by Game 5, Minnesota's size and depth could overwhelm Golden State. For the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns have an opportunity to solidify themselves as legitimate playoff stars. Minnesota hasn't been this close to a conference finals in years. Can they finish the job? In the East, the Knicks have stunned the basketball world by taking a 2-0 lead over the Celtics. But despite their grit, they'll need to sustain their effort back at Madison Square Garden. Jalen Brunson has been the engine, but Mikal Bridges' fourth-quarter heroics and OG Anunoby's defense have been just as critical. Still, it's hard to imagine Boston continuing to shoot 25% from three. The Celtics will need to adjust. Can they find answers offensively? Or will their frustration mount? If the Knicks pull off the upset, it could rewrite expectations for the franchise moving forward. For Boston, an early exit would trigger tough conversations. With Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum leading the charge for years, will the front office consider retooling? Is there enough playmaking on this roster? How do they balance their reliance on three-point shooting with postseason physicality? Meanwhile, Cleveland's collapse against Indiana has raised serious red flags. If the Cavaliers fail to recover in this series, it could force the franchise to reevaluate its core. Donovan Mitchell is eligible for an extension, but rumors have swirled about his long-term commitment. Darius Garland's injury underscores Cleveland's lack of depth, and Evan Mobley's offensive development is under the microscope. For Indiana, Tyrese Halliburton's rise is the story. His clutch plays have silenced critics and positioned him as a true franchise cornerstone. If Indiana closes out Cleveland, they'll be one of the most dangerous underdog stories in recent memory. Beyond the games themselves, these playoffs are setting the stage for a transformative offseason. The Lakers, already eliminated, will explore adding rim protection and defensive help around LeBron James for what could be his final season. Houston faces questions about Jalen Green's future and whether they should chase a star like Giannis Antetokounmpo, Devin Booker, or Kevin Durant. Milwaukee must grapple with the devastating loss of Damian Lillard to an Achilles injury, a blow that could sideline him all next season. With Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, and even Giannis' futures uncertain, could this be the end of an era in Milwaukee? Even younger teams like Orlando and Memphis are poised for big decisions. Orlando's impressive showing against Boston signals they're a piece away from contending. Memphis, plagued by injuries and questions about Ja Morant's durability, must figure out how to stay healthy and build sustainable depth. As the playoffs continue, each game feels heavier, each moment more consequential. These are not just postseason battles, they're inflection points for franchises, legacies, and future dynasties. Whether it's Jokic chasing a repeat title, Shai looking to claim his spot among the league's elite, or the Knicks trying to shock the world, the 2025 playoffs are delivering unforgettable drama. And the best part? The story is far from over.